And now you have these amazing people that God puts in your life that you get to help too. So just looking at each person I am given the opportunity to work with, and how I can bless their life and they can bless mine.
Hey guys, it's Mindi Linscombe, your host of the Something New show, and we are here in the studio today with one of my really good friends, Melissa Thompson, and we are going to talk about how to live a life worth celebrating. So I just want to say thank you for traveling all the way from Memphis, Tennessee to be here today.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, and so we are going to talk about a little bit of your life and your business and how you've found success in both family and business. But awesome. For those of new people that maybe have never heard of you or followed you on Instagram yet, I think it'd be cool for them to know that you are a born and raised person in Memphis, right? Yes. So that's a lot of years. So many generations back, right? I'm just thinking your grandparents, your parents.
No. Oh, actually, I didn't move there till like second grade.
Okay.
My dad was personnel manager for Sears, so we moved around a lot, and he got tired of it, so we ended up staying in Memphis.
Landing in Memphis. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you are one of the most top performing realtors in the country. And it has been said that at one point you were selling a house on average of every 2 days.
Right. Yes, crazy.
And you've been doing it for 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is some secret to your success doing 37 years in real estate in the same community, being sought after as, the best person to sell or buy a home with. And you think about that, that's like over 140 a year deals a year. And so, I mean, I don't know how you did all that. And you have lots of children between you and your husband.
I do.
You guys have 5 kids, and that's a lot too.
It is.
So I want to learn from you because I feel like you're in just that one season ahead of me, and probably all adult children now. So tell us a little bit about how old are your kids, and do they all live in Memphis? Do any of them help with the family business?
Yes, they do not help with the family business, but the oldest is 35 and lives in Conifer, actually, in Colorado.
Okay.
So I had our first grandchild, so he's about 18 months now, so he's precious. So we get out here as much as we can. Then the next one's in Nashville, then the other one's in Memphis working, and the other 2 are in college for 1 more year. So
okay,
1 more year.
Anybody looking like they want to join in the real estate
No.
world? No.
Nobody's interested.
Okay,
no,
tell me why that is. Do they think it's too hard?
Probably. Yeah, they're just doing their own thing at this point. They may come back around, but right now everybody's doing their own thing and doing great. So I'm excited for them.
Yeah. Well, and it is one of those things, as you own a business, you don't want to force your kids into the same line of work if they don't want it, right? You want them to follow their dreams as well.
My dad was amazing with that, actually, because since he was in real estate, he never talked to me about it. So I went to school and thought, okay, well, I'll be a teacher. But changed my mind after a couple of years and got my license at that point, and he was encouraging from that point on. So, but kind of let my brother and I both make our own decisions about what we wanted to do. So.
Did your brother go to real estate or no?
He did for a minute, but only about 6 months. So he's a missionary now in Brazil, but he did not last long. Yeah.
Wow, he went a totally different
way. Yeah.
Okay, so when you worked, I assume you worked alongside your father at the beginning.
I did.
Stages. What were some of the best things you learned from him about your career, or maybe just in general work?
He was just like, however hard you work is how much money you'll make. So it's like a lot of real estate agents only work like part-time or they get into it because they're flexible, the schedule is, which is true, but you still have to work. So I've gotten up every day and treated it like a business. So I get up, leave the house the same time, all the same things are so consistent, just like I had a regular 9-to-5 job, basically. And I think that's what's helped my success, as opposed to, well, nobody's asking me, so I don't want to go in until 12, or I don't go until 2, or whatever it may be. And that's hard to maintain a business that way. So
you've done the 40 plus hours a week since day one.
Yes, I have. I just treated it like a business, so it's like I've worked for a long time, since I was like 12, so it's like I guess the work ethic was just there anyways, but just getting up and that's how you kind of outwork somebody, but not working and not bragging about working 70, 80 hours a week like some agents do, but just being consistent with it. And it's just the little things with the consistency that, you see success in.
And how did you do that when you were having babies?
That was hard. That for sure was hard. So still just being on a schedule. So I would get up and still, take them to school, daycare, whatever it may be. And then I would try to get home by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon if I could and have appointments, by then, or maybe after dinner, daylight savings time is still going on, so I'd run out and show a house after that
But you
point.
did do, from infancy on, you never stopped. You never stopped.
No, I did.
And maybe for moms that are feeling guilty out there, feeling like, oh my goodness, how can I do that? Like, do you feel like they turned out okay?
Yeah, I do.
What would you say to that mom?
So, I made time. I never missed an event. So it's like, you get, at the time I'd be like super guilty thinking, oh my goodness, not that I was not going to it, but what do you tell a client that's here wanting to see something? Then you kind of get over that. So I'm like, I just have another appointment. So it's like if I was with a client that wanted to see a house and my son had a basketball game, then I have an appointment at 4. I can meet tomorrow at 5, or, you just start scheduling your time better too. So, but I never ever missed any of their games or anything like that. So that is one good thing that you can, schedule around that. So you don't miss the important things.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to stay connected with your kids emotionally and say, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? And be aware of like, oh, maybe they are missing me a little bit. I need to spend a couple nights with them because they've felt like I'm away or whatever.
Right.
Just to stay present, because there's a lot of people that even aren't working moms that maybe are having a hard time staying present. So it's like, whether you are in the home or not, it's like stay present would be my biggest thing. It's like stay very connected. Okay. So when did you feel like your consistency started to pay off? Because I think a lot of people say, oh, in business, it's like, oh, year 1, you should have an awesome year, or year 3 or year 7. Like, when did you say, oh, I'm starting to actually see traction from the daily grind and delayed gratification?
Every new realtor that I talk to that comes to me about joining or mentoring or whatever, I tell them it's a grind for 3 or 4 years. It's like, because everybody wants it to be so easy, and it's just not. So it was, a good 3 or 4 years that I was doing things that I don't necessarily have to do now, to get the business. But I was so consistent in staying in touch with people, because no matter what, this is still a relationship business. So it's like, as long as you maintain those relationships, I wasn't like, I'm going to sell one house and then you're gone. I mean, those people are my friends. So I sell their kids and I sell their grandkids, it's generations go on as well. So it's just important to me to maintain those relationships with people too. But it's a good 4 or 5 years of just being consistent before you really can start seeing.
And when you say consistent, I mean, I have thoughts on what that means, but some people might be like, what does she mean? Like, do you have certain policies in place for your own brand, your own integrity of like, I will always return an email within 24 hours, or, when you say I stay consistent in the grind, give us real practical things that you stayed consistent in the grind in.
So every morning it was a new business development. So you need to block out time. We are great at like squirrels. This happens, or the phone rings, or this happens, but really just blocking out the time to just new business development. And then after that, the next piece is to follow up, lead follow up. So what does that look like? Who did you talk to 2 months ago or 3 months ago? That I put them in a system to make sure that I'm following up with them. And I was never not a pushy realtor, but it was like, I'm just calling and, did you know about this? Or did you know about the interest rates? Or did you know about this going on in the subdivision? Or different things like that, just to keep them abreast of things that might be interested in. So just keeping you top of mind with them as well. So we have client events. A week from Friday, we're having a fundraiser for a school, but I invite all my clients to come and bring backpacks and different things for school to support them. So those things get you in front of your clients as well, when you're giving back.
In
and
a
they
not
can
sales
join
kind
you.
of way.
Yes. And because what happens, people want to reciprocate. It's like, thank you for inviting me to have pie day on Thanksgiving, come and pick up a pie, which is so funny to me that they do, and it's such great conversations and great connections. But when they come to pick up the pie, it's like, oh, my neighbor's thinking about selling their house, kind of thing. But so it's super fun, but it's just super fun to see them and connect with them too, because I've just kind of taken them into my wing for all the years as well. So
I love that. Well, and I love just thinking about what are ways that you can give to them, stay in relationship, not be salesy.
Right.
But just say, hey, I'm here in our community for the long haul. So when you need me, just give me a call. Like I'm here, and in the meantime, let's just be friends.
Right. Right. And I always thank them for every referral, even if it never worked out. So it's like if they picked up the phone, said, Bob's thinking about, calling, here's Bob's number, and Bob's done something else or decided not to sell, it didn't matter to me. Just
and
like
how would you thank
showing them appreciation. There's a great company called Client Giant. And so it's like they send 4 things a year now is who I use. And so it's just like random, not like Valentine's Day, not like Christmas. It's just odd times of the year, that they decide these gifts. I don't even know. I just sign them up for it, and they send these 4 gifts to them. So it's super neat, and I get these text messages. I've even forgotten it's gone out. Now they tell me Client Giant does, but they're like, but I'll get text messages going, thank you so much for this. It's like a Ziploc thing for your makeup, but it's really neat, or a beach towel, and, way to make a candle. It's just unique things. So just always being mindful and thankful of people thinking of me.
I like it. I like it so much. Okay. And I'm imagining that your company also, your line of work works weekends.
Yes.
Nights.
Yes.
And I just am thinking about that work-life combination. I hate to say balance because the balance thing is like really irrelevant.
Not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening. So it's more, I would like to hear from somebody who's been doing this for 37 years. And I look up to you so much. And you have a relationship with your adult children. You have a great marriage. I'm like, how did that work when a lot of the times you had to stop what you're doing, stop making dinner, go handle a business thing. I mean, you and I both know we probably had to sacrifice some things that you had to say no to socially with friendships. Just how are you here? And maybe think through some of the wisdom you can leave us that are still in the thick of it with kids at home and wanting to still have a great marriage, but realizing it doesn't necessarily look like most of our friends. Like, honestly, being a full-time career person, date nights aren't a thing, because by the time I get off work, I don't really want to pay a babysitter. I want to see my kids. I've been away from them. I don't want to go out. And so, Jordan and I get creative and have a breakfast date and fit it in like a meeting, or, and we try to figure out creative ways. But just thinking, Melissa, what have you done to be even healthy? I loved some of the things I know about you. I've seen you work out on Instagram, but also that you run half marathons every year. And I mean, just give us some of your thoughts over maintaining, maybe think about friendships, spouse, kids. What are some things that worked well for you?
So I was super lucky with my parents. They're a great marriage, great relationship. But I saw them be so intentional. So with me, and then when my kids, as their grandparents, so that was just, it's kind of stuck with me as well. So just being very intentional with relationships and remembering things that are going on in people's lives, means a lot too. So I just get up super early to get a lot of stuff done in the morning too. And so then if I was taking the kids to school, that time could block off. The funny thing is when I really made a pivot in my business is I would put, realtors are known for working, we tell people we work 24/7, blah, 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 kind of thing. And so I started putting boundaries on like my phone on my voicemail. It was like, before it was like, I'm going to work from 7 to 7. And if you get this after 7 o'clock at night, I'll return it the next day. Then I'm still like, that's 12 hours. That's still crazy. So then I went from like 8 to 6, then I started changing it. The funny thing, it was mainly more realtors that were upset. When I started going to meet my clients and say, this is how I work, it changed the game. So I could say, now if I'm negotiating a contract with you, we're going to be talking at 9 o'clock at night. It's not that easy.
Yeah, because you have that 24 hours to get back to the buyer or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
The time frame. But as a whole, I know that most things can wait. So if I go to your house, I'm going to list your house. This is how I work. And then I was like, I'm off on Sundays. I'm going to work. At that point, I had agents that would set for open houses for me, if they're a thing or not thing, if people want them or not. But I stopped doing them at that point, too. So I'm like, I just need a day where I can just kind of breathe, But you have to build it into your system, even though it's hard and you may lose business from it. But you gain your sanity, and your family. So just being very intentional of having one. It doesn't have to be on Sunday. It could be in the middle of the week that you pick some day. But just being intentional with your time, not, and seriously, turning it off, which is super hard for me to do, but really turn it off at that designated time. But that's now because my kids are gone. But when my kids were little, that was easier to do because you want to be with them and be with them in the moment for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And this episode is sponsored by Something Blue 30A. Looking for the perfect vacation spot to disconnect from everything, put your feet in the softest sand, and enjoy a fresh, renovated 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse right on the beach in my favorite place in the world? Well, 30A is situated in the Panhandle of Florida, and I'd love for you to check out Something Blue 30A on Instagram and make it the perfect place for your next vacation. Did you have any routines when it comes to, time with your kids or time with your spouse, or what kind of routines did you have in place for that?
Yeah, same kind of thing. Lunches for sure. So Gary and I, are very intentional about doing lunch during the day. That's a little bit easier to do because we're both eating. We're super close in proximity, so then we could go and, just connect. Probably like 2 to 3 times a week. He really wants 3, so a lot of times we're good to get 2, out of it. But that's a great, connection too, to kind of see what's going on and just touch base. But now we have date nights consistently because our kids are gone too. So that makes it easier but a lot of times that's just meeting right after work too. But kids are not at home, totally changes
It's
the
different.
game.
Yeah.
It's different for sure.
Okay, tell me now, if you're 5 years into business or 7 years, whatever you said, after the grind, 3 or 4, you start to hire people to be on your team.
Yes.
And now you have how many people on your team?
So I have 2 full-time admin and a virtual assistant, and then I have about 15 agents with us right now.
And what's kind of the advantage of an agent being under someone like you?
The experience and being able to bounce things off. They call, how do I negotiate this contract, or what's the terminology I put, or how do I handle this? And we role play and just different, experience, honestly, because I've experienced it so much. There's not anything I haven't done. So you can ask them let's do this.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, right.
Every story you've heard enough.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
And in this season, I love that you're coaching other realtors
Yes.
around the country and really helping them to be successful. What's that all about? Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. So just after doing it for this long, I really just want to give back at this point too. It's like I've been there and, sad to say I'm super competitive. So it's like 20 houses weren't enough. Then it was 50. Then it was 80, so it's like I've done all of that and then got to a point and you're just kind of like, okay, let's back that down, or you need more help, or just kind of leverage that too.
It sounds crazy to imagine a house every 2 days. Has any other realtor attained that?
Not very many. The average realtor sells 6 to 10 houses a year.
And you were in the 140s?
Yeah, 1 year I was 225. Yeah.
225.
Mm-hmm. Like 2018, after I survived 08, so I was short sale certified because, the market crash was crazy. Barely survived, but then from that point on, it picked up and, just really implemented systems and people and had just been in it so long that then it was crazy. But that year I was like, I cannot, so many listing appointments constantly, which was an honor. But then you start figuring out how you have to leverage yourself to continue to grow and give, the service that you want to give. That's the thing, It's like, how do you do that to provide what you need to for people?
So that's what you like to teach, is how do you leverage your secret sauce, like what you're good at. Yes. With a team.
With a team, systems. Yeah, and most realtors, every time you would go to a conference, they'd get on stage, well, I've made, millions or whatever. But then if you ever look at their bottom line, they don't. So I'm big on profit first. So I've got, spreadsheet and tithe right off the first, how much you put in your business. So all the things that nobody teaches realtors how to do that. They don't know how to spend them. They get a big commission check and it's gone. You're not thinking, when's my next one coming? Or especially when you're first starting out. So it's super hard to save when you're, living paycheck to paycheck. But if you don't, you'll get in trouble, get out of the business, have to get another job, all the things. So just trying to teach them how to be wise with their money too, so they can survive the ups and downs and inconsistency.
Well, I'm not even a realtor and I love watching your page. So if people want to follow you for tips, what would be a good way for them to find you?
Instagram would be great. I'm on TikTok too. It's like Melissa Thompson, either one of those.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's so interesting. Even though I am just an investor, I'm not a realtor. I think it's so fascinating. I have a secret little passion for it. Yeah. I'm always kind of like, oh, would you say you love finding a deal, or do you like the buyer side, the seller side? What's the fun part for you?
Yeah. So it's been a little both, but my passion was the listing side, to be honest with you. It's like I studied a lot because I wanted to be really, really good. I love working with sellers and negotiating, getting the house ready, all the things, So
What would be some tips if some people are listening? I would love to talk about both the seller and the buyer for a minute. So like the seller, what would be some tips to get the most for price out of your house?
Yeah, so updating, just making sure now it's gone back, it's swinging back to your house, what it looks like matters. 2020, I call them the unicorn years. It didn't matter. You could have a stick and sell it and people would bid more for it, like a little lean-to because of it was so crazy, that market, which is not really fun because it was super hard, for everybody. Felt sorry for buyers paying so much money over, houses if you had to get a house, But
Yeah.
anyway, so now for the seller part at least, it's like it needs to look ready. I can go in, it's like, let's do this to the countertops. I'm not trying to spend a lot of money, but you can do some things. I want to spend $1 of your money to get you $3 in the long run. So, it's like new paint, new carpet, and it's just, people want to move in ready. They just don't want to have to touch a thing, honestly. And if they do, they're going to discount it even more.
Well, and I think to your point, it's like a business because it's like you got to spend a little money before you can make the money. So while people are like, no, I'm not going to make that update to my house, but it could mean in the end that you make a big difference because I think people pay for convenience.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not so much that, this carpet was going to be $5,000 to replace. It's like now they think through, well, then I'm not going to be able to move in right away. I have to do this before I can transfer, whatever. So I think convenience. Okay, let's talk about the buyers. Like, what are you seeing in today's market with interest rates? What do you anticipate? I heard September might be a good month for interest rates and things like that. But what are you seeing in the market from a buyer standpoint? And how do you feel about first-time buyers? Is this just so hard to break in compared to 10 years ago?
It has been, yes. And then with all the National Association of Realtors, the rules are changing for us come August 16th, which buyers cannot even look at a house unless they have a signed agreement with an agent. So before you could show them and then, come back and see if you wanted to work together. So that's different. So I'm scripting, helping my agents to go, this is what. So before you'd go to a listing, and when I did a listing presentation, like for the seller, here's all the things that we offer and here's what we provide and here's what you can expect. So we haven't really ever done that on the buy side. It's like, here's a house and I can help you get in it kind of thing. And now it's kind of reversed where now, we have a buyer's presentation. This is what you can expect. This is what we can do. And really our job is to help you, navigate through that process, meaning like, if you have a structural problem, well, what does that mean? Some things you don't even know as a buyer that you should be looking for. So just showing what our value is as realtors, but that's a big change in the industry that's coming in the next couple of weeks. So just getting prepared for that. But the buyers, now I think it's a great time before the rates go down, to be honest with you, because I'm like, you can always refinance it, but as soon as the rates go down, I still think there's pent-up demand right now. And then you're going to be competing again, not like what it has been, but now you can get a house, maybe not compete, negotiate with the seller at some point, but when the rates start dropping, and
then there's going to be more people making an offer. So it's like you could pay less maybe for a house right now with a higher rate.
Yes.
Then refinance.
Correct. Yep. And then just go back and refinance. We have some lenders that we work with that even let you refinance for free.
What do you tell, what do you tell, young couples? What's your advice on buying versus renting and how soon should they buy? And what's a safe, if they only have 10% down, is that okay? And if you were talking to your young adult children that are in college right now, what would you tell them?
Buy as soon as you can. They changed the law this year so you can buy like a duplex for like an FHA. You can get in for 3.5%. You don't even have to have 10%. There's some loans that you can get in for 100%. So it's like just get with a realtor and get with a lender and see the programs that are out there. So you may be surprised about the money that you have to have or don't have to get into a house. But a duplex now that you can get in, you can live in one side and rent the other side, and you'll get like regular loan like on a regular house. So they did that this year, and I think that's amazing. What a great way to get a start and have property. That's how the United States has made their wealth, by real estate. So I think it's a big investment for you than just spending it away on somebody else's rent. My rental houses, people move in, they're just paid for my mortgage all these years. So I just would advise you to do the same. Buy it and let somebody else pay for your mortgage.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Well, when you think about, our theme, which is to live a life that's worth celebrating, whether that's with purpose, with intentionality, your calling, whatever you might think, what comes to mind for you, Melissa, that you're like, when I think about, I want to live that kind of a life, what kind of life is that for you?
Just really praying over the people God puts in my life. So it's like sometimes I hate to lose, so I went to a listing and I didn't get it, or I didn't get this buyer, you're like, but I always feel like, how can I do this better? But the older I've gotten up, I just realized I wasn't supposed to work for them, and wasn't supposed to work together for whatever reason. But then now you have these amazing people that God puts in your life that you get to help too. So just looking at each person I am given the opportunity to work with, and how I can bless their life and they can bless mine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I have more questions for you, but why don't we take a second to talk about your drink?
Okay.
Because I would like to know, what is this favorite drink that you're going to introduce me to today?
There's so many new ones. But yes, this ginger lime and poppy. They're just so good.
And a prebiotic.
Yes.
So I want to say cheers.
Like cheers.
Cheers. Let me try your drink. Ginger lime.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not a ginger girl, but I actually like this.
It's different, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I like it.
Refreshing for the
And
summer.
only 4 grams of sugar.
Yes.
I like that. So what are some of your goals in this season? I just want to imagine myself as a grandmother, 37 years in with my company, a team of 15, a great thing going with my husband. Everybody's out of the house. What would you say Melissa's goals are in the next, 5 to 10 years? What do you see this roadmap in your dreams looking like?
In my dreams. So in my dreams, helping a ton of agents actually be successful in this business and not get burned out, because not too many people even make it as long as I have for 37 years. So it's like 5 years or 6 years, and then, it's a lot. So I just love it. I'm passionate about it. I think it's super fun. But just letting people, do that. But I would love to be able to do that more remotely too. So my oldest son with our grandson lives here, so we're actually going to look at houses in the next little bit to see if we can have a VRBO and then come back and forth, a little bit more often to spend time with them. So that would be amazing. And for our future grandkids, wherever they go, so just having, some flexibility to be with them and spend our life that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if you can think of a story of helping an agent of like where they were maybe on the brink of like, maybe this isn't for me. Can you think of somebody that you were able to help put some systems in and tell me what happened?
Yeah, the funny thing is, ironic thing, most people on my team were in that situation. So it's like they go and try to do it on their own, and they're like, I can't do this, and then they'll come and like, all right, because then they get the admin support and all the things too, with my coaching. But it's really interesting that's like they just try it and they're like, this is super hard. So, and a team makes a lot of sense, which I wished I'd had a team, starting out, or could have been a part of one, because you just get a lot of support and information and knowledge and all those kinds of things too.
You're making me think of even a coaching call I had today with an owner, and we were just talking about how some people are bent to be a number one and some people are more bent to be a number two.
Yes.
And that number twos are just as equally impactful, but they maybe would prefer having the support of an organization, or like you said, the admin, the oversight,
all the structure.
And so that's something that's coming to my mind today. Is like some people might be listening to this, and I was encouraging this person that's a number one to maybe sell and become a number two. And that might be less stressful for her to carry the load of the number one. When in other circumstances, I wouldn't advise that. But I just think maybe as our listeners are hearing this, whatever industry they're in, if they're feeling like the number one role is really taking a toll on their family and they're not getting to live the life worth celebrating, that maybe they would be an awesome, number two person for a really great organization doing the same thing, like being the realtor, but not necessarily having to put their face out there as the number one leader of the pack. Because, we all have our strengths. Like a good book that one of my teammates and I are reading is The Force Multiplier. And so it's about that person that supports that number one, but that is just equally intelligent and go-getter, but maybe just doesn't want the pressure of the managing others, leading people. They just want to come in and like implement a lot of the ideas. And so I kind of joke with her. I'm like, I'm going to change your title to Forced Multiplier. So when I introduce her, I'm like, this is Liz, my Forced Multiplier.
Love it.
Because she's amazing. But I mean, just to the point of that owner today, I was like, you know, maybe you don't want to own. Like, maybe there's a realtor out there that doesn't want to be the head realtor, wants to get some coaching from you and join a team.
Yes.
And that's totally great too.
It is.
And sometimes can be just as income generating.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Because you're talking about that bottom line that some people say, I sold this much this year, but after cost, everything else, like you can sometimes make just as much, if not more than the number one, you know? So I think that's a really thing of wisdom for people to consider. Is like, what are your personality bent towards?
Right.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that or what came to mind as
No, I think that's when I started a team, it was to have leverage, but then to have more support. And so you're not working constantly, you know, so you could say, can you show this house for me? Or can you do this? So it's just more of a team approach all the way around. So it wasn't just you grinding it too. So
did your dad get to see how successful you are?
Yes, he's still there. He helps me some now too. He'll help every once in a while. He was 84. But it's like,
he's so proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
I know.
Well, if you're in Tennessee, if you're listening, you got to have Melissa Thompson team help you out. But even if you're not, if you're a realtor and you just want some coaching and some thoughts, I mean, I just imagine you have saved people a lot of time and a lot of money.
A lot.
To save, like, oh, do I want to get out at 5 years? No.
Right.
Let's push you ahead.
Let's do this.
And, you know, paying for acceleration is worth it.
Exactly. Yes.
I've paid for so much coaching.
Me too.
Over the years, and you're still paying. I mean, we're both of us.
That's
we're still
what I was
paying.
going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
coaching is big. I mean, I've done that for years, you know, so it's like
that's the only way you can advance to the next level. So, well, I'm encouraged. I'm going to have my kids continue to save so they can buy a house as soon as they can.
Great.
I'm encouraged that you still think the market is healthy and you know, everybody's nervous about, interest rates or election and all that stuff. But I still think real estate is a pretty safe place to invest.
I do too.
Yeah.
The year after the election is always like really good too. There's a lot of transactions going on the year after, statistically. Isn't that funny?
And why is that?
After election. It's so funny, like October, November, people kind of put the brakes on for a minute, but as soon as election's over, they're like, okay, we know who it is, you know. So I guess they're just like breathing easy. I don't know. But statistically, for years, the year after election is a great year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good to know. All right. Well, you guys, hopefully you'll follow Melissa Thompson for life advice and realtor advice and all the things, because you are definitely a model for a life that is making a difference and has purpose and investing in others. And how cool to use your success now to just multiply that success and not be like, okay, I made it to the top, I'm out.
Gone.
Yeah, you have a lot to be proud of. And thank you so much for being on the show and sharing it with us.
Thank you.
So if you guys had any questions for Melissa or have some comments, please drop them in the chat below. Subscribe and definitely tell your friends about this whole channel, because our goal is to keep mentoring you and teaching you how to live a life worth celebrating. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow the Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.